Chosen one. There is a reason people have been looking at you and saying nothing. Their eyes stay on you 1 second longer than expected. Some look away when you notice. Others seem ready to speak, but no words come. Because they do not explain what they are seeing, your mind explains it for them. You wonder if something is wrong with your face. Then one simple glance becomes a private judgment that follows you home. Not every stare is spiritual, but not every stare is meaningless either. People read tension around your mouth. They notice when your smile appears too quickly, and when your breath stops before you answer. Something inside you has started changing. The old signals are becoming less reliable. The version of you who softened every truth is not arriving on command. They recognize your face, but they cannot find the person they expected to meet. Their mind searches for your hesitation, your apology, or the movement that once told them you could be pushed. When that movement does not appear, silence enters. You may have treated that silence like proof against you, yet the deeper question was never about appearance. Why do you believe another person's face has the authority to explain your own? For a long time, being watched felt like danger. Your body searched for meaning before meaning was given. One raised eyebrow became rejection. One quiet moment became conflict. One distant expression became a verdict about your worth. That did not make you weak. You learned to survive through observation. That skill protected you, but it also trained your face to ask for permission. 3 signals reveal that pattern. The first is the automatic smile. It appears before you know what you feel. The third is quieter, and it is not in your eyes or mouth. It is the breath you hold before becoming acceptable. That breath tightens the jaw. It shortens the voice. It pulls your attention away from what you know and toward what others might think. Then fear projects a story nobody has spoken. But the pattern is breaking. You notice the breath now. You catch the smile before it performs. You feel the urge to explain. And sometimes you let silence remain. They show that the old face is losing its assignment. You are learning to stay present while another person remains uncertain. That is why their eyes may stay on you longer. You will see where the borrowed expression came from, why insight disappears under pressure, and what must shift before transformation becomes consistent. There is also a discovery from neuroscience that may explain why someone can carry great potential, yet access it only in flashes. We will return to that later. First, you must understand the face you learn to wear. For now, write these words in the comments. I no longer shrink. Write them as a boundary between the person who lived through reactions and the person who can remain steady without receiving an explanation. The first person to notice your change may be the person who benefited when you doubted yourself. Their old map of you no longer works. Chosen one. The stare is not the deepest issue. The real issue begins when you abandon your center to interpret it. You feel their eyes, then your attention leaves your body and enters their mind. You start guessing. You prepare a defense nobody requested. Your face changes before a word is spoken because an old part of you believes uncertainty must be solved immediately. This is the first breakthrough. The people looking at you may be experiencing what I call the recognition lag. The recognition lag happens when someone remembers your old pattern, but your present behavior no longer completes it. They expect the quick smile. They expect you to soften your truth. But this time, you remain still. Your voice stays level. You do not rush to remove the tension. Their mind waits for the familiar signal, and when it does not arrive, they look longer. That look does not automatically mean admiration. It means the pattern they knew is no longer giving them the same answer. Think about the relative who used guilt to change your decision. They knew your face would reveal doubt first. Now something different happens. You pause. You finish the sentence. You say no, without building a defense. The other person looks, because the old route into your behavior has closed. This is why certain people notice your change first. But someone who benefited from your hesitation feels the missing access immediately. Do not turn this into paranoia. Not every confused expression belongs to an enemy. Your work is not to manage their adjustment. Your work is to stop translating their silence into a command. When someone stares, notice what happens inside you. Does your jaw tighten? Do your eyes fall? Does a smile appear before you feel warmth? Those reactions are more useful than any story about the other person. They show where the old pattern lives. They reveal the moment your attention leaves your truth and searches the room for safety. Let your shoulders fall. Breathe out slowly. Keep your eyes soft. Then return to the purpose of the moment. Finish the sentence. Continue walking. Let the other person have an unreadable face without making it your responsibility. This is how agency returns. It returns when you remain present without forcing certainty from another human being. Confidence is the ability to feel uncertainty without becoming its servant. They showed that your body had learned a fast way to preserve connection. Those lowered eyes were not proof that you were born small. They were adaptations that helped you move through rooms where honesty carried a cost. But an adaptation can outlive the danger that created it. Then protection becomes limitation. The face that once kept peace begins hiding the person who is ready to live. Remember this: you were not weak, you were trained, and what was trained can be observed, interrupted, and changed. Write this in the comments. I trust what is changing. The next time someone looks at you, keep one breath, one thought, and one clear action under your own authority. The transformation is not that more people stare. It is that their stare no longer rearranges you. And if the face they knew was built for survival, where did that face come from? Chosen one, the face they remember, was not false. It was protective. It learned when to smile, when to become smaller, and when to hide what the room was not ready to receive. A certain look from a parent taught you to become quiet. A certain tone taught you to soften your answer. So you adapted. You learned how to look calm while your body prepared for danger. The expression became so familiar that you eventually mistook it for your personality. I call this the borrowed face. It is borrowed because it carries the expectations of other people. It smiles when they need comfort. It pretends not to hurt, because pain once made you inconvenient. This does not mean you were dishonest. It means your face became part of your survival system. But survival expressions are heavy. The jaw holds words that were never released. The eyes scan for danger inside ordinary conversations. Then you wonder why you feel exhausted after being around people. But often, the exhaustion comes from managing every signal your body sends. You are monitoring your voice. You are adjusting your face, predicting the next response, and preparing to repair discomfort before it appears. Bring your attention to your forehead now. Do not change it yet. Notice the muscles around your eyes. Now let one area soften. Do not force a peaceful expression. Do not perform calmness for this message. Let your face become neutral enough to tell the truth. What happens when you stop arranging your face for an invisible audience? You may also feel exposed. That exposure is important because the borrowed face once stood between your truth and the reaction you feared. This is why some people stare when it begins to disappear. They are seeing less management. Your face becomes quieter. Your gaze becomes less apologetic. Your smile appears when warmth is real, not when fear requests protection. The years you spent smiling through pain were not wasted, but connection purchased through self-abandonment always sends the bill later. Now, you are learning another way. You can remain kind without becoming available for harm. You can love people without giving them control over your expression. The face of survival deserves gratitude. But it does not need to lead the next season. And there is another layer. Many chosen ones remember a younger version of themselves who learned quickly, imagined freely, and saw possibilities everywhere. Then adulthood brought fog, hesitation, and a strange distance from that original clarity. One doctor in New York has connected this question to research that reached the highest level of scientific recognition. It asks whether the receiver carrying your gifts is operating with the integration it was designed to have. Later, I will return to that discovery. I will explain why someone can hold insight, talent, and spiritual sensitivity, yet struggle to turn them into consistent movement. For now, hold one question. What if the fog you blamed on age, discipline, or spiritual failure was never a verdict on your intelligence? Your face is changing because the performance is weakening, but the deeper transformation will come when your attention, identity, and action begin carrying the same message. And the place where that alignment becomes hardest to fake is the eyes. Chosen one, the eyes reveal what the mouth can hide. A person can choose careful words, they can arrange a smile, but the gaze often shows whether someone is present, guarded, or waiting for permission. There is a difference between steady eye contact and performed confidence. Performed confidence tries to win. It holds too long and asks the other person to surrender first. Real presence does not need that contest. The unborrowed gaze is softer. It can meet another person without chasing approval. It can look away without shame. It returns to the moment without building a story around every expression. This is why people may notice you before you notice yourself. Your eyes are beginning to stop negotiating. They no longer ask the room to decide whether your truth is acceptable. The first sign is simple. You do not look away because you feel smaller. You look away because your attention has somewhere honest to go. The second sign is quieter. You no longer hold eye contact to prove strength. Power, which needs constant display, is still asking to be believed. The third sign changes everything. You can see confusion on another person's face without making it your emergency. Their uncertainty remains with them. Your center remains with you. Imagine, tomorrow morning, you stand before the mirror, before the noise begins. You do not search for a flaw first. You do not inspect your face for proof that transformation is working. You simply notice your eyes. They are not rehearsing an argument. They are here. You choose one action. Your body stays with the choice. Your face does not tighten as though clarity were dangerous. That is what integration looks like. It is not a dramatic glow. It is the absence of inner argument in moments that once divided you. A woman once noticed that she smiled whenever someone interrupted her. The smile was not joy. It was an apology for taking up space. She began doing one small thing. When interrupted, she paused, kept her face relaxed, and finished the sentence in the same calm voice. The room learned a new way to meet her. This is how a new identity becomes visible, not through announcement, through repeated moments where the old signal does not return. You have completed more of this journey than you realize. You have survived the silence after setting boundaries and stopped explaining truths to people committed to misunderstanding them. But one piece is still forming. What you know, what you feel, and what you do must begin carrying the same message. Without that connection, clarity comes in flashes. You feel strong in private, then lose the feeling under pressure. You know the answer at night, then wake inside the old fog. That does not erase your progress. It reveals the next threshold. Write these words in the comments. My presence does not apologize. Let the sentence become a measure, not a performance. A reminder that your face, voice, and attention no longer exist to manage another person's comfort. The gaze that changes your life remains open without abandoning its own direction. So why can you feel this version of yourself so clearly, then lose access the moment pressure enters the room? Chosen one. Knowing who you are is not always enough to move as that person. You can understand the wound. You can name the pattern. You can feel clear for 1 hour, then become scattered when the next demand arrives. You sit down to complete important work, and sudden fatigue appears. You know what to say, but the words disappear halfway through the sentence. A simple decision expands into days of overthinking. Then you blame your character. You call yourself lazy, You question your faith. You wonder whether the intelligence and creativity you once carried have quietly left you. But those explanations are not complete. This pattern can appear when attention is overloaded, the body remains alert, and different parts of your life pull in opposite directions. You may hold powerful insight while lacking a stable condition that turns insight into action. I call this the receiver effect. The message may be clear, but the system carrying it is divided. Clarity is information. Integration is information that can move. Think about how often you knew the correct boundary, yet heard yourself say yes. You knew the next step, but opened another page instead. You felt the calling, but your body responded as though movement were dangerous. That is not proof that you are broken. It is evidence that potential and access are not the same thing. Your mind can carry vision and skill, while daily stress makes those gifts difficult to coordinate. This redefines the years you called wasted. You were not always refusing your future. Sometimes you were trying to move with attention, scattered across fear, obligation, unfinished pain, and constant input. Agency returns through small acts of integration. Choose one decision today. Remove extra input for a short period. Give your attention one destination instead of 5. Create 8 quiet minutes without messages or performance. Sit with one question, then write one action that can be completed before the day ends. There is another question we opened earlier. I told you that research from an unexpected direction may help explain why a person can carry unusual potential, but access it only in flashes. I waited because a solution has little meaning until the problem has a shape. You now understand the shape. The issue is not only what you know, it is the condition of the receiver carrying what you know. Why does insight remain insight instead of becoming movement? Why can your eyes look clear one morning and exhausted again by night? The missing piece is not another identity label. It is not another promise that you are special. It is the integration of the system that must carry your identity into action. Here is the plain truth. Your old face was maintained by vigilance, divided attention, and the need to monitor other people. Your new presence becomes stable when attention, body state, and choice stop sending opposite messages. A divided system spends energy checking danger and reopening decisions. That leaves less energy for focus and action. The change has a practical shape. You notice the trigger, you soften the body, you choose one clear action. You repeat this until presence becomes familiar. You are not a failed chosen one. You are learning how to access what was buried beneath years of fragmentation. The insight is real. But insight alone is not movement. The door is visible. What remains is restoring the receiver that must walk through it. The discovery I promised offers another language for the painful gap between what you carry and what you can consistently use. Now that the mechanism is clear, you are ready to hear what was created to address that gap. Chosen one, remember the question you were asked to hold. What if the fog you blamed on age, discipline, or spiritual failure was not a verdict on your intelligence? The answer presented by the product team begins with research connected to Dr. Roger Sperry. In 1981, his work on the specialized functions of the 2 brain hemispheres received the Nobel Prize. The team uses that research as the foundation for one idea. The 2 hemispheres handle different kinds of processing, but stronger coordination may support a more integrated state of attention and thought. They describe this as whole brain activation. These claims come from the sales presentation, not an independent medical diagnosis. What happens when you stop treating mental fog as a moral failure and begin exploring the condition of the system carrying your potential? A woman from California described years of prayer, journaling, and meditation. She understood the words, but said the clarity behind them rarely reached her daily life. The team says she later felt more able to receive guidance and remain emotionally present. Her experience does not guarantee the same result for everyone. A man from Texas described another struggle. He had carried responsibility for years, while constant fog slowly became normal. The team says he later reported better focus and cleaner decisions. That is one experience, not a promise of outcome. The team says Dr. Daniel Barone in New York helped develop an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. It is delivered digitally, and the routine is simple. You use headphones, you close your eyes, you listen for 8 minutes each day. They call it the genius switch. The genius switch is described as using neural sync technology to support hemisphere synchronization and whole brain activation. The team positions it as different from an ordinary meditation track. They distinguish it from common brainwave tracks, claiming this sequence targets broader coordination instead of a simple mood-based sound. That is the product positioning. It should not be understood as a cure, a medical treatment, or a replacement for professional care. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who has done real inner work, yet no longer wants to treat every foggy day as a character flaw. It is for the person willing to explore practical support while keeping responsibility for every choice. The sales page uses a value anchor of $500. It also compares the resource with neurofeedback options that may cost hundreds per session or thousands for equipment. Those comparisons are part of the offer presentation. The listed price is $49. The current offer, shown in the product information, is $39. The purchase includes 4 bonuses. They are a guided visualization, a grocery guide, a classic manifestation book, and a printable 5 habits infographic. The product information states that buyers receive lifetime digital access. It also describes a money-back guarantee, subject to the terms shown on the official page. Read those terms before deciding. Prices, discounts, and conditions can change. The page itself is the place to confirm what is currently available. The cost of waiting is not that destiny disappears tonight. It is that a pattern can continue after you recognize it. Still, urgency should not replace discernment. One detail matters. The product file states that the official version is available only through the direct website. Tracks with similar names elsewhere are not the version distributed by this team. If this resource resonates with you, read every detail there before making a decision. The description and pinned comment contain the path. A tool does not replace God. It does not replace obedience, therapy, medical care, rest, or honest action. A clearer mind must still choose what it will serve. A restored receiver must still decide which message it will carry. The deeper work now returns to you. Will you continue using other people's faces to decide whether your transformation is real? Chosen one, the final mirror is not made of glass. It is the face of every person you still use to measure your progress. One look can make you feel powerful. Another can make you question everything. You notice who watches. You wait for someone from the past to return and confirm that you have changed. When they stay silent, the old doubt rises again. But transformation does not become true when another person announces it. I call this the external confirmation delay. Your identity can change before your environment knows how to respond. People often react to the version of you they remember. Some will need time. Some may never name the change, because naming it would force them to admit that their old access has ended. Their silence does not cancel your progress. Their confusion does not define your direction. The real question is not whether they see you differently. The real question is whether you still become different when they do not. This is where many chosen ones surrender their power. They set a boundary, then watch the other person's face for permission. They make a decision, then reopen it when someone looks disappointed. You do not need another mirror. You need a better measure. Measure how quickly you recover after a trigger. Measure how often you say no without building a long defense. Measure whether one clear decision becomes one completed action. Measure the peace that remains when someone misunderstands you. There is a simple practice for this. Remember the word face. First, feel before you fix. When tension appears, notice it before changing your expression. Do not force a smile. Do not rush to look calm. Second, anchor the breath. Let one slow breath interrupt the old performance. Your body needs proof that uncertainty can exist without controlling you. Third, choose one clear action. Finish the sentence. Keep the boundary. Send the message. Leave the room when staying would require self-abandonment. Fourth, exit the imagined courtroom. Stop preparing a defense for people who have not asked a fair question. You are not on trial every time another face becomes difficult to read. Each evening, complete one sentence. Today, I stopped performing when I did this. Maybe you stayed quiet instead of over-explaining. Maybe you allowed someone to be disappointed. This practice returns authority to you. It teaches your nervous system that presence can survive another person's discomfort. And remember this, buying a tool does not prove transformation. The evidence is how you live after clarity arrives. The resource described earlier can support focus, but no resource can choose your boundary. No audio can speak your truth. No promise can complete the action only you can take. Your face changes when your choices stop contradicting your identity. Write these words in the comments. I release their version of me. Let that sentence close the old contract. You are no longer required to remain familiar to people who only felt safe when you doubted yourself. There is one future scene that will show you this process has become real. It will not happen when hundreds of people stare. It will happen when one person looks at you the old way, and nothing inside you returns to the old role. Chosen one. Imagine entering a room that once made you shrink. You step inside. Your shoulders remain low. Your eyes do not search every face for danger. Then it happens. Someone looks at you for longer than expected. The old version of you would have changed immediately. But this time, you stay present. You do not stare back to prove strength. You do not look down to create safety. You let their expression belong to them, while your purpose remains with you. You continue the sentence. Your voice stays natural. The room begins adjusting to the person who no longer adjusts first. This is the face of integration. It is simply no longer divided against itself. The old version saw a stare and created a verdict. The new version sees a stare and waits for evidence. The old version carried the moment home. The new version returns attention to the life in front of them. That difference may look small from the outside, but small moments like this can change an entire season. And for the chosen one, who felt something stir when the mind and the receiver were mentioned earlier, the resource remains in the description and pinned comment. You can read the details before deciding. It is an 8-minute option presented to support clarity and integration. Now let the selling end. What remains belongs to your own presence. If you are somewhere safe, close your eyes. Let your hands rest. Allow your jaw to loosen without forcing a smile. Notice your forehead. Feel the place where your face usually prepares for another person's reaction. Take one slow breath. Let the exhale become longer than the inhale. Now imagine the room that once made you smaller. See the doorway. Feel your feet meeting the floor as you enter. The person who once carried emotional power is there. They look at you, but they say nothing. Do not interpret the look. Do not create a hidden conversation. Let silence remain silence. Say this within yourself. Their silence is information, not instruction. Say this next. I do not need their face to tell me who I am. Feel what happens in your chest when you stop asking the room for a verdict. Place one hand over your chest or lower stomach. Breathe out again. Let your face rest in the expression that appears when nobody is being managed. This is not a performance of peace. It is permission to stop performing anything. Now see yourself completing one clear action in that room. You finish the sentence. You keep the boundary. You leave when the moment is complete. Your body simply learns that you can remain yourself while another person remains uncertain. Remember this feeling. The next time a stare activates the old pattern, return to one breath, one truth, and one action. Your future face is not the face receiving the most attention. It is the face that no longer lives through attention. And your presence becomes stronger because it belongs to you before anyone else recognizes it. Stay here for one final truth. The change is not complete when people see you differently. It is complete when their old way of seeing you no longer changes the way you see yourself. Chosen one. The answer is simpler now. You cannot know what every stare means. You cannot read every silent thought, and you do not need to. Some people are only looking. Some are adjusting to a version of you they did not expect. Others are searching for signals that no longer appear. The truth lives in your response. The automatic smile was one signal. The lowered gaze was another. The third was the breath you held before making yourself acceptable. That breath tightened the face. It pulled your attention away from truth and toward approval. It helped create the borrowed face. Now you understand the recognition lag. People can feel that an old pattern is gone before they know how to name the new one. You also understand the receiver effect. Insight does not become movement when attention, body state, and action keep sending opposite messages. None of this means you were broken. It means survival taught you one way to move, and awareness is teaching you another. The face that is changing is not a supernatural mask. It is the visible result of less fear, clearer attention, and choices that finally agree with your identity. A tool may support clarity. It cannot become your courage. It cannot choose your boundary or live your calling. That responsibility is yours. So is the freedom. Say these words slowly. I am not the face I learned to wear for survival. I am not the story another person reads into my silence. I am not required to shrink so someone else can recognize me. I am allowed to be calm without explaining myself. I am allowed to be seen without performing. I am becoming clear enough to carry what I know into action. My eyes do not ask the room for permission. My presence belongs to me. I release the borrowed face. I receive the unborrowed gaze. Let those words settle. Do not force emotion. Let truth arrive in the way your body can receive it. The next time someone stares, remember the new measure. Notice the trigger. Anchor the breath. Choose one action. Exit the imagined courtroom. You do not have to win the moment. You only have to remain with yourself. Write this final declaration in the comments. My presence belongs to me. Let it be more than a sentence. Let it mark the end of the habit that turned every stranger's expression into a verdict. And share this message with someone who keeps mistaking another person's silence for proof that they are not enough. Send it gently. No pressure is needed. Chosen one. The next time they stare and say nothing, let them meet the face that no longer needs their silence to become a verdict. Your features may be familiar. Your presence will not be. The old face asked, "Am I safe to exist here?" The new face answers, "I am already here."